Why, hello and welcome back. I got another knife to take a look at today, and this one's a Boker. Kind of fitting, as I recently picked up their Desert Warrior Kalashnikov switchblade. This one is a Boker Plus as well. This is a Lancer, uh, designed by Sergey Panchenko. And this guy's an S35 VN, which was pretty interesting because they were on sale when I picked this up from Blade HQ for $40. It's pretty sweet. This one's got nice tumbled brass to it. They also had a copper variant. I'm not huge into copper myself because of the fact that I think it more or less tarnishes rather than patinas, and it just kind of gets ugly and dark and then green, and then that green will rub off on your hands. It's kind of gross. So it's not really my thing. I know a lot of people really like it, but brass is kind of fun. It also does kind of tarnish or patina or whatnot, but it's a little bit easier to take care of. And they did a pretty rough tumble on this guy, which I'm for. I do like that kind of look. Has that that working edge kind of appeal to it. It's got a hole deployment, but you can't get to it from the other side because that's where the liner is. You got a pocket clip that almost looks like you might be able to, but they didn't decide to let you do that. But yeah, it's a nice smooth clip. Doesn't really get in the way. It's super comfortable when it's in your hand. It just kind of disappears into your ring finger there. And it's got a pretty interesting spear point blade to it. I have used this guy just a little bit, so he's got a little bit of tape glue and whatnot on there. Never mind that. I don't believe that these are numbered. I believe that this is probably Boker's model number for it, the 0487. But I'm not 1,000% sure on that. Something that we will see here in a minute, but you can kind of see it's got a nested liner in here. However, with how heavy this knife is, that exposed part of the liner is basically the whole liner. So it doesn't extend way up into the top there. It's just kind of a sliver of steel. So not exactly the strongest design out there. And one other thing that I'm very, very confused about is it's got a bit of this blade sticking out here. And you can actually, if you're skilled with it, front flip the thing. But there's not a jimp to be seen. That basically makes that very difficult to do. So it just, to me, seems a little bit more like a design oversight, or it's either a design oversight or a production oversight of, well, we can cut costs by not putting any jimping on this before we, put the blacking on the blade. That being said, the blacking on this guy is what the heck is it? It's not DLC. It's the other one. Vapor phase disposition. I think that's what it's called. So it's a little bit more durable than just a painted black blade. But it will certainly scratch up with time. And, that's fine. At least you have a handle that'll probably make that look a little bit more appropriate. But, yeah, I am happy that it's S35 VN. I haven't tried to sharpen this guy yet. I will in a little bit. But something you can tell that I've at least noticed is that the blade by itself sits very far away from the liner side, to the point where if you're not pushing it this way with the hole when you're deploying it, yeah, you can hear the blade actually rubbing. And well, there you go. You can see that it does actually rub there, and that's with the pivot fully tightened, so it's not really flopping around from side to side. And the other thing that me and probably everybody else under the sun always wants to complain about, these are T6 screws all around, including the pivot. T6, for the most part, strips rather easily. At least, you can round out the head really easily with them, as opposed to T8 that actually grabs and works a lot better that way. Yeah, it's got a couple of barrel spacers on the back there. So, yeah, let's go ahead and pop this guy open. One of the barrel spacers also goes through the pocket clip. So if you want to actually take this thing apart, you got to take that clip off. Or at least one of those screws for the clip. I might as well take them both off. Come on, buddy. There we go. Yeah, it's got a little bit of Loctite on there. You can see, though, that it is inset into the brass handle, which is nice. I do like that. And you have these two screws here. Really don't need to take those out. That actually attaches the liner onto this. So it's not really needed for taking it apart for any maintenance or whatnot. There's the other one. And T6 for the pivot. That's the one that's weird for me. But, it's what it is. Pretty darn sure it was. Did I put it in on the other side? No. But you did just basically see me round it out with a T6. The T8 now actually grabs on that side, but the T6 doesn't. So there you go. Yep, and I have to pivot in the front. So whatever. At that point, just drop the thing a little bit to loosen things up, and here we go. On the inside, we got nylon washers. Not my favorite. It does offer you a smooth experience, but not smooth kind of in the way that a lot of people like and appreciate from a lot of newer knives, whether they're using phosphor bronze or bearings or whatnot. This is something that a lot more large manufacturers do than a lot of the smaller ones now. You'll see this a lot on excuse me. You'll see this a lot on Boker's, some Cold Steel, CRKT, some Kershaw, stuff like that. But you really don't see it from a lot of the smaller makers, or heck, even most of the Chinese makers have moved over to using bearings or whatnot, just because it's not that much more expensive. But yeah, that is certainly something that I would at least personally like to see phosphor bronze or brass or whatnot for the washers there. Brass might not make the most sense. And now that I also think about it, probably putting two dissimilar metals up against each other might tend to cause some corrosion or something like that, which is certainly a possibility why they decided not to go along with that. But yeah, alright, I digress. It does have some skeletonization going out on both sides, which is good because these handles are heavy. But yeah, here you can see you basically have a thin strip, basically about a third, not quite a half of that side being the liner. And so that's it. So when you see it actually locked up there, that's it. You don't have a huge liner, and you don't have one on the other side either. So it does give you kind of a nice thought of being largely robust because of the heft of the handles there. But yeah, this is a little bit more EDC than something that you would want to really do a lot of hard beating on. So yeah, you can see that we do have a D-shaped pivot. It is fully milled out on here, but we only have it keyed on this side. So yep, something to keep in mind there when you're putting the thing back together. And the notch on it actually faces out rather than in, that I've seen a lot of other companies do for their pivots when they're D-shaped. So, all right, from here, it's not too bad to try to throw some stuff back together. You got a hardened steel pin there for the blade stop. I did recently oil this thing up when I took them apart recently, but yeah, so there you go. Pin stops. Helps if I actually had that in view. Okay, yeah, so the pin stops right there in the center of the back of it, which perfectly fine for me. Then yeah, I did have a little fiddly time trying to get this back together with that D-shaped pivot. Seems like you can see it'll actually fight you with the nylon washer there, which is not the funnest. But also the screws are not magnetic. It's probably not a big deal to most people. For me, it always worries me thinking that they're aluminum instead of steel or something like that. But and it's certainly possible that it's the case, having me basically rounding out that side completely, whether I wanted to or not. Obviously, I didn't want to. Alrighty. But at least the side that I stripped out was the pivot side, which shouldn't need to turn. However, this screw should go back into the stupid clip. There we go. I guess it was just off center a little bit. Yep, this is a little bit more fiddly of a knife to try to put back together than others. There we go. And of course, the last one here for the last barrel spacer. And I'll set this guy down because, reasons. Alrighty, so yeah, none of the back spacers are D-shaped or anything, but I also haven't had any trouble trying to get those guys to get back up there. Alright, and of course, deal with getting nice, perfect tension you got there So, one of the other things that I've noticed a little bit with this guy is, and you can hear it, it's a little bit of lock stick. I think this is probably just due to the coating on the blade, because it doesn't feel terrible at all. But you certainly do hear it when you're disengaging. So yeah, I do like the blade shape on here. It's fairly small. See, I haven't really done any measurements on here, so yeah, it's just basically right at 3 inches. Oh, let's see. Well, I'm out and about, and I haven't done this, so I might as well go ahead and do some weight and thicknesses as well. So, alrighty. As far as the ounces, yeah, it's almost 4.5 ounces. That being like 127 grams. So, yeah, for a small, compact 3-inch knife, not exactly a lightweight. Let's see, as far as blade stock, looks like we're basically right at 3. So, hey, that's a little thinner than Smothers. And it is nice and thin. It's, basically like 0.4 of an inch. So it is super nice and thin. And I could certainly see some people liking to try to use this a bit as a money clip, maybe. It seems like the clip may be a little short for that for my personal taste. But, hey, to each their own. So yeah, that's it's a little tiny Lancer from Boker. It's Boker Plus, and they don't list where it's manufactured. To me, that means China, because that's where a lot of Boker Plus are out of. Not all of them, but most of them. And with the prevalence of S35VN being in the Chinese market, certainly makes sense. Civivi has certainly gone off the deep end with it, and a lot of others have as well. Kaiser. But they're also part of Civivi. So them, and a lot of the others have started to jump over to that for their higher end blade steel. I guess there's just a whole bunch of it sitting around. So, cool. That's a decent steel. It's not my absolute favorite, but it is a little bit easier to sharpen than S30V, and I'm kind of getting tired of that steel. Spyderco. I know they probably invested in like half of the world's stock at one point, so almost all of their knives, as a standard run, will probably be made out of S30V until the end of time. But I am kind of getting a little tired of it. Alright, so yeah, that's kind of my thoughts and everything here on the Boker Plus Lancer. I'm very confused why they don't have jimping, because it is a front flipper, whether they thought it would be or not. The hole does a pretty good job for opening it. It's beyond neutral with its handle. So it will be comfortable in a lot of different hands. Holding it up front here, I can get a full 4-finger grip on there, which is actually pretty cool for a 3-inch blade. Usually I struggle to do that on knives that are, under 3.5 inches. Definitely doesn't speak enormously to the blade to handle ratio that a lot of people look for, but works great for my larger hands. So there you go. There's the Boker Plus Lancer by Sergei Panchenko. Neat design. I think it probably could be improved a little bit with, kind of a second iteration of it. But yeah, it was a super interesting knife to get a hold of, especially for $40. This thing is It was quite the value, but that was on sale. I think these guys are probably back up to 80 or somewhere around there. I don't know, or if they're just completely out of stock because they were getting rid of them. I'm not sure, but either way, getting S35VN for $40 is always a good thing, especially from, kind of a name brand that will actually back up their knives with warranties and whatnot. So, alrighty, that's kind of the end of all of my thoughts and everything. So, yeah. As always, appreciate y'all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, yo.